Greetings, everyone. My name is Dev Shah, and today I'll be presenting on Heaven on Earth, Kashmir. Kashmir is the northernmost geographical region of the Indian subcontinent. It is also one of the most beautiful places to visit on our planet. From being regarded as heaven on earth to one of the most dense and militarized areas of the world, where not one, but three nuclear armed countries claim the land. Let's look into some of the facts and history about Kashmir. Kashmir is an ethnically diverse Himalayan region covering around 86,000 square miles and famed for the beauty of its lakes, meadows, and snow capped mountains. Under the partition plan provided by the Indian Independence Act, Kashmir was free to accede to either India or Pakistan. There are three different administrators of the region at the present moment. The Indian controlled one is known as Jammu and Kashmir, which make up the southern and the eastern portions of the region. The Pakistani area is known as Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan, which make up the northern and the western portions of the region. The Chinese-controlled area is called Oksai Chin, and it makes up the northernmost part of the region. So, what exactly is the dilemma? As you can see, there are three different perspectives of the same region. There is a perspective from India, there is a perspective from Pakistan, and the same from China. The last display shows the current administration and the division of the region. As you could see, the Pakistani-controlled Kashmir is the northernmost, the Chinese-controlled is the northeastern, and Indian-controlled is southern. So what are the human rights violations in that particular region? In a report by respective Ministry of Home Affairs of India and Pakistan, the ceasefire violations by Pakistan were 5,133 and India were 3,097 in 2020. This in turn led to a century of deaths. It is indeed frightening to know that there is 1 is to 10 military ratio in the Indian administered Jammu and Kashmir. The Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights in 2019 raised serious concerns about abuses by state security forces. The same report highlighted the killing and displacement of Hindu Kashmiri Pandits in the region, which are now a minority. It also highlighted the mass detention of political and human rights activists. The Financial Action Task Force, responsible for money laundering for terrorism purposes, has called on Pakistan to address its strategic deficiencies and has put Pakistan on its grey list. The restrictions on freedom of speech and expression, institutional discrimination against minority groups, and misuse of anti terrorism laws has been increasing day by day in the region. So, what does the death toll stand in the valley? The valley is often referred to Kashmir. Between 2008 and 2019, 4,427 members were killed in separatist violence, according to the Jammu and Kashmir Coalition of Civil Society, a local human rights group. Between 1989 and 2008, more than 47,000 people were killed in separatist violence, according to the Indian government. Some human rights groups and non governmental organizations say that the death toll is much higher. Militancy in Jammu and Kashmir has claimed a total of 41,000 lives in the past 27 years, which means an average of 4 deaths per day in the state or 1,519 casualties every year, according to the latest available government data as per the report by Hindustan Times in 2017, a local newspaper in India. As per a report presented in the Parliament of India, 635 militants were killed in 20 from a range of 2018 to 2020. The next slide shows the pictures of the armed forces clashing with local civilians, with one firing tear gases to one saving themselves from stone pelting. What are the current present solutions present to the situation? It is widely known that the United Nations has been proactive in the situation. However, it is not able to gain momentum or access to intervene and take command of the situation. There is the presence of the United Nations Military Observer Group in India and Pakistan, also known as UNMOGIP. The UNMOGIP deploys UN military observers in UN field stations on both sides of the line of control, the working boundary between India and Pakistan. In the Pakistan administered Kashmir, there are various field stations as listed, and the same on the Indian administered side. In addition, it has a liaison office in New Delhi and the same in Islamabad. This is important in context to the domestic human rights violations as the two countries blame each other for human rights violation as a result of their action. India blames that Pakistan sponsors the militant activities in their region. which prompts to more human rights violations. As you could see, this is the current deployment map of the UN MOGIP in both the countries. Some more peace-building actions. The trade across the line of control has developed, prompting into more communication and monetary flow. There was a recent report on Pakistan wanting to import cotton from India, which is in turn a positive sign of growing communication and decrease in dialogue gaps between the two nations. The two countries have tried to engage in more dialogues, however, it has failed due to India believing in terrorism sponsored by Pakistan and the same categorically being rejected by the opposition. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the current Prime Minister of India, invited his counterpart in his oath taking ceremony in 2014. There are various incentives made by the Indian government recently. There was the abolition of giving a special status to the region and promoting equality within the nation and opening its border to increase tourism in the region. Tourism is one of the major source of income in the Indian administered Jammu and Kashmir. However, one could question, are the measures working? The violence in the valley does not seem ending. There are lives lost and voices suppressed under the excessive presence of armed forces. The cross-border tension rises day by day with constant efforts of infiltration by Pakistan and China. There was a recent standoff between India and China in the region where plenty of armed forces' lives were lost. The Hindu Kashmiri pundits are yet not given justice, and the alleged left media in India does not mention about it. What is an additional solution to this particular region? The fact that the international community has been physically absent from the area has led to more hue and cry across the region. It is important for various international organizations and countries to add pressure on the regions to improve their human rights standard. Widely known, the United States has discussed the issue in their Senate, the United Kingdom in their parliament, and so has many other Western elite societies. However, there has not been any economic sanction or a retaliatory sanction on India, Pakistan, and China on the specific situation of Kashmir, as compared to what happens in other domestic spheres. There has been the same. The need for other countries standing up for human rights in Kashmir keep rising every moment. Apart from that, the United Nations need to step in more firmly and gain access to every corner of the region to evaluate the situation. Well, what are the challenges to the same? The primary concern would be either country calling out that their sovereignty is being challenged and access to all regions would not be granted. This could be referred back when the members of the European Union visited the region in 2019. International countries may feel threatened to put sanctions on India due to its rising economic activity and playing a powerful role in the global trade system. The same applies for China as well. The United Nations might lose many peacekeeping force members, as India is one of the leading troop contributors in peacekeeping missions across the world. I would lastly like to end by two visuals from my personal visit to the region, in which I was able to capture the United Nations aircraft present on Delhi, which was meant for the UN MOGIP in Kashmir. And the last visual is of me being surrounded by the beauty of Kashmir. Thank you very much. Hope you have a good day.